Picture this. A World Cup team boards a charter flight. They cross an international border. They play a match in front of 80,000 people. And then, before the night is over, they board that same charter flight, cross back over the border, and return to a different country to sleep. No hotel room in the host nation, no training ground in the host nation, no extended time on the soil of the country they just competed in. In and out, match day only, like workers on a day visa, like guests who are not permitted to stay. That is how Iran is competing at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the only team in tournament history required to leave the host country after every single match they play. And that is only the beginning of a story so extraordinary that when football historians look back on this tournament, they will find it almost impossible to believe was real. Stay with us, because what Iran has been asked to endure to reach this World Cup and what is still being done to them now that it has started is unlike anything this sport has ever witnessed. To understand the full scale of what is happening, you have to start in Tijuana, a Mexican border city directly across from San Diego, California, home to one of the busiest land border crossings in the world, and, for the duration of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the base camp of the Iranian national football team. Iran's National Guard were waiting when the squad's bus pulled into Tijuana's Caliente Stadium. Mexico's Federal Security Services had deployed dedicated protection for the Iranian delegation, escorting them through the city, securing their training facilities, treating them with the full hospitality of a co-host nation. Iran arrived there after an overnight flight from Turkey, where they had spent 3 weeks in a training camp, delayed from their original travel plans by visa complications that had consumed their preparation time. Their original base camp was supposed to be in Tucson, Arizona, inside the United States, just like every other World Cup team. But the reality of Iran's situation made that impossible. For every one of their 3 group stage matches against New Zealand on the 15th of June in Los Angeles, against Belgium on the 21st of June in Los Angeles, and against Egypt on the 26th of June in Seattle, the Iranian squad travels by private charter flight from Tijuana, crosses the border into the United States on match day, plays their match, and flies back out to Tijuana before the night ends. They do not sleep in the United States. They are permitted to arrive 1 day before kickoff at the earliest. They return immediately after the final whistle. The logistical precision required for this arrangement is staggering. Transportation, security, customs procedures, FIFA protocols, charter flight scheduling, all of it has to be coordinated with perfect timing for a team already carrying the weight of everything else this tournament has thrown at them. Each border crossing is a potential bottleneck. Each transfer is a moment where something could go wrong. And unlike any other nation at this World Cup, Iran has no room for error because the United States is not their home for the tournament. It never was. If you are following the story of this World Cup, every layer of it, not just the goals, subscribe now and hit the bell, because what we are about to tell you next is where this story becomes something else entirely. While all of this was being arranged, while Iran was training in Turkey, relocating to Tijuana, and coordinating daily border crossings for match days, another blow landed, one that may be the single most outrageous development in the history of the World Cup.
Under FIFA's own regulations, every one of the 48 competing nations is entitled to receive and distribute 8% of the stadium capacity for their matches. That is thousands of seats per game. Allocated to the federation, sold to their fans. Non-negotiable under the rules FIFA wrote itself. Iran's federation had received that allocation. They had already begun selling those tickets. Iranian supporters, people who had made plans, arranged travel, booked accommodation, were expecting to be in Los Angeles and Seattle to watch their team. Then, 3 days before the tournament opened, those tickets were taken back. Every single one. Not reduced, taken back entirely. Iran's Football Federation released a formal statement describing the move as something that deprives Iranian supporters of access to their lawful and official allocation of tickets, an action contrary to the spirit governing international competitions and the principle of equality among participating countries. The principle of equality among participating countries, written in plain language and directed at the organization that created the rule being broken. Iran's ambassador to Mexico had already made an extraordinary request to FIFA, asking that the federation's 3 group stage matches be moved from the United States to Mexico entirely. FIFA refused. The schedule, the governing body said, would not be changing. So Iran stays in Tijuana, flies in on match day, plays, flies back. No fans in the stadium from their official allocation, no base camp in the country where they compete, no guarantee of a return if they progress beyond the group stage. And then there's the question of who is actually in this squad and who is missing from it. Because the story of this Iran team at this World Cup is also, at its heart, a story of extraordinary sacrifice and extraordinary loss. 17 of Iran's 26 players are home-based. They play their football in Iran's domestic league. Except that league has not been operating since February. It was shut down by the effects of the ongoing conflict. Which means 17 of the players who will face New Zealand in Los Angeles on the 15th of June have not played a competitive football match in more than 4 months. They have been training, trying to stay sharp, working with their coaches in conditions that no footballers at any World Cup in history have had to deal with. They will step onto a World Cup pitch against a physically ready opponent, representing their country, having not competed since February. The disadvantage is real, visible, and entirely beyond their control. And then there is Sardar Azmoun, a name that should be in every conversation about this tournament. Iran's all-time leading scorer, 57 goals in 91 international appearances. A footballer of genuine world-class quality, the kind of player who can change a match in a single moment. He is not in the squad. He was dropped, reportedly, after posting a photograph on social media with the ruler of the United Arab Emirates. In the context of the ongoing regional conflict, Iranian authorities interpreted the image as an act of disloyalty. The federation removed him from the preliminary squad in March. An Iranian state television pundit called the post an act of betrayal. Iran's vice president publicly called for his reinstatement. The federation did not change its decision. Iran will play their World Cup without their greatest ever scorer, not because of injury, not because of form, because of a photograph.
The captain, Ehsan Hajsafi, carries the armband and the burden of everything this team represents. 4 years ago in Qatar, he stood before the world's press before his team's opening match against England and said his players support the people of Iran who are suffering. That statement, made on the world's biggest sporting stage, cost him personally and earned him the deep respect of millions across the globe and far beyond it. He is a man who understands that football sometimes has to carry more than football. He arrived in Tijuana on June 7th, delayed by visa complications, and spoke briefly to reporters. His face told its own story. Now consider the full picture. A squad of 26 players, 17 of whom have not played competitively since February, based in a Mexican border city, boarding charter flights on match days, crossing into a country they are not permitted to stay in, playing their group stage matches without a single official supporter in the stands, missing their all-time top scorer, with 15 of their support staff denied visas to even be present. And still, they are there. They chose to come. They qualified for this tournament on merit. They are 7th-time World Cup participants, and they will play their football with everything they have, because that is what footballers do. FIFA's response to all of this has been careful and consistent.
The Secretary General met with the Iranian Federation president in Mexico and described it as a positive discussion. The governing body said it would continue dialogue to ensure the team's experience is positive. It confirmed, in the language of official statements, that it is not involved in the immigration processes of host countries. Not involved. The organization that chose the United States as a co-host nation, that accepted guarantees of access and participation for all competing teams, that distributed ticket allocations to all 48 federations, and then, in Iran's case, took them back 3 days before the tournament began. Iran had also formally asked FIFA to intervene, to move their matches to Mexico, to ensure their staff could be present, to uphold the principles their own regulations are built on. Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, said publicly that her country would have no problem hosting Iran's matches if FIFA agreed to it. FIFA said the schedule was not changing. The United States president had written on social media earlier in the year that Iran was welcome to play in the United States, but that he did not believe it was appropriate for them to be there for their own life and safety. That statement came from the leader of the country co-hosting 78 of the tournament's 104 matches. These are the conditions under which Iran are competing at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. When they walk out on Los Angeles Stadium on the 15th of June, having flown in from Tijuana that morning, having not slept on American soil, having no fans in the building from their official allocation, missing their greatest ever scorer, with 17 players whose last competitive game was in February, they will be doing something that no football team has ever done before. Competing at a World Cup under terms that no other participant has ever had to accept. Whether they win or lose against New Zealand, whether they progress or go home after the group stage, the story of this Iran team at this tournament is already complete in one sense. It is the story of a group of footballers who refuse to let the world stop them from playing the game they love. No other team at this World Cup has been asked to show that kind of determination just to reach the starting line. And when Ehsan Hajsafi leads them out onto that turf in Los Angeles, charter flight behind him, Tijuana waiting on the other side of the border, no fans from home in the stands, the football world owes them its full, undivided attention. One thing is certain: when Iran plays, it will mean more than football.